If you have fond memories of watching CITV and CBBC at 3:30 on a weekday afternoon, then this is the podcast for you. This is Jack's Throwback Attack. So I'm very pleased to have with me today puppeteer Rebecca Nagan. Hello.
Hiya.
How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. And many thanks for taking part today and chatting to me about your career.
God, absolutely my pleasure. Happy to talk to anyone, to be honest.
So I do have to ask, what was the path into becoming a puppeteer?
Oh, gosh, do you know what? I fell into it by accident. I went to drama school and, was desperate to be an actress and failed miserably, actually. But I could do lots of silly voices and lots of characters. And just as I was leaving drama school, I was approached to do an audition for a new children's programme. And originally, the character of Rosie was meant to be a sort of more Asian character and was going to tell folk stories. So I got a call and they said, go to this interview and if you happen to know any Asian folk stories, that would be a plus. And at the time I was going out with an Indian jazz drummer. So I went to see his family, his parents, who told me lots of folk stories. And I turned up at this interview and then bizarrely never told one of those stories and just got on with Robin, who played Jim, so well that we laughed the whole time. And we did lots of voices, and then I was just offered the job. And then it all slightly changed in the fact that it was kind of like, it's not just to do a voice, do you want to puppeteer? And I was like, I had no idea really what that meant. I loved Basil Brush as a child, and I literally had that suspension of disbelief. I didn't think there was somebody underneath manipulating it and bringing it to life. And I was sort of like, don't really know if I want to do that. But at the time, I was doing it was an awful soap opera for BSB before it merged with Sky, and it was like Crossroads in space. And it was awful, so I wanted to get out of that. And so I said, okay, what do we have to do? How do I do this puppeteering thing? And Robin and I went and we worked together for a few weeks in a cottage on his granddad's farm in Winchester, and he set up all of the cameras and a reverse scan monitor and literally taught me how to puppeteer. And then first day of shooting, there I am with this puppet and it's not quite standing up straight and it's the eye line's all a bit dodgy, and literally Rosie and Jim was where I learned what I was up to and how it was happening. And then as the series went on and it was sort of bizarrely became popular, no one thought that it would be or sort of have quite the impact that it really did. And then there were not many women that were puppeteers then, and certainly not that could do voices and things. And I just got work all the time, and I loved it. And when you're a puppeteer, because you're not being seen, you can play so many different characters, because it's not based like with acting on your looks first. So to be honest with you, it just became, that was my life. I was a puppeteer. And then I met Francis by chance, Francis Wright, and he just took me under his wing. And really, he's very responsible for my career being, sort of how much I worked, really. And that's the story.
That's a really cool story, because, most puppeteers trained in it, and just the fact that you just accidentally fell into it is quite cool.
And most puppeteers are slightly anorak, and they wanted to be a puppeteer since a child, and they know the Muppets and Fraggle Rock and everything. And I was like, what? I've sort of been the anti-puppeteer, but actually I so enjoy it. I don't do it as much now these days because I've got twin boys and they keep me pretty, active. But I can't imagine doing anything else, really.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. And with Rosie and Jim, I have to say, as someone who watched it, I never noticed that anything was a bit wrong or that the puppet was a bit wonky, so you did all right.
You have to say this, otherwise it'll be a very short interview. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was such a gentle programme, and I don't know. It was in the days when they didn't used to commission a lot of one show. So now they'll commission, 100 episodes of this and what have you, and we would do like 13 episodes in a series. And I don't know. I mean, it is bizarre that everybody still remembers it. I mean, it's a bit odd being a classic. I'm only 51. Come on, I'm not that old.
I mean, yeah, people do remember it really fondly. I mean, I'm one of those people who absolutely love the show, and it still pops up online on various nostalgia sites, and I mean, like, I come from, the Black Country, which is where a lot of the episodes were filmed, and even to this day, you still see out and about references to Rosie and Jim. It's like people are very proud of that show being filmed there.
Well, it was funny because only the other day I got a text from another puppeteer going, I've just heard Chris Evans mention your name and Rosie on Radio 2. I'm like, random. I don't know what it was all about, but it is bizarre that it's in people's memories. I don't know. I mean, that's really flattering, to be honest with you. I mean, certainly working with Ragdoll as a company, that's the production company who made Rosie and Jim, I've never really worked with a company since then who go so deeply into what children will like. I mean, Teletubbies came after Rosie and Jim, and we all know what a massive success that was. And it is because they take the time to research their audience. It's shown to children, even before it's been properly finished, to gauge their reactions, and it's shown to a cross-section of children from all backgrounds, ethnicities and things. And so, yeah, it's a really interesting way they worked, because, I mean, some of the Rosie and Jim episodes weren't ever even seen because they didn't do well enough in front of the audience they were shown to. So it's, it was a great start, that's for sure.
Yeah, I really love what Ragdoll Productions did. I think they did some absolutely wonderful programmes. I think they, should be held in very, very high regard for what they've done.
They were diverse, weren't they? I think?
Yes, they were.
Yeah, ultimately, yeah.
Most definitely. And it was very, it's a very special part of my childhood, actually, because I watched Rosie and Jim, I watched Teletubbies, Tots TV. I used to go to Stratford. In fact, actually, I've just remembered, I once saw the Ragdoll boat moored up in Stratford.
And the shop, the Ragdoll shop.
Yes, the Ragdoll shop. I used to go there every summer. In fact, that was all I ever wanted to go to.
I love you for that.
And
they had the letterboxes and you could write to the characters.
Yes, I remember it.
Sweet.
I mean, like every summer my parents would take me to Stratford, and all I would go on about the entire way up the motorway is, can we go to the Ragdoll shop? Can we go to the Ragdoll shop? And I just drove them mad until they gave in and let me go. I mean, unfortunately, it's no longer there. However, if you...
It broke my heart. I was there fairly recently, actually, for a Rosie and Jim reunion. We had set up. We had a reunion... this year, and it was the sort of last time we would all think we tried to get us all together before we all start dying. It's just we're all getting on a little bit now. And Penny was one of the producers on it. We stayed in Stratford overnight, and we went to have a look, and it's like I think it's an optician's, like a body shop or something now. It's like, oh, time's moved on.
Yeah, it's but if you look up, there is still a picture of Rosie and Jim in the upstairs window, or it should still be there at least.
Oh no, I didn't look up. How bizarre.
Yeah, there's still a picture there. I think, I'm trying to remember, there's someone I know who went for a job at Ragdoll, and he told me that he spoke to someone. They said that they'd left the picture in the upstairs window as like a tribute. Because the people who took over the shop were kind of very respectful of what it used to be, and they left it there as like a tribute.
Plaque, isn't it?
Yes. I think it's an optician's now, if I remember right.
Oh, is it? I can't remember, but I actually felt really sad that it wasn't there. I mean, not that it should be, because those shows aren't on the TV anymore. And the worst thing is that I do start to begin to feel my age, because they were shot in a different format.
Yes.
It's like they can't even be shown, really.
Well, actually, a couple of years ago, CITV celebrated an anniversary, like 30 years, and they actually did a weekend where they shown all the old programmes, even though that they were in an old format.
Yeah.
And one of the things they did show was one episode of Rosie and Jim, and this was about 5 years ago.
Wow.
And it was really weird because all of the shows that they shown all trended on Twitter. So for like a couple of hours, Rosie and Jim was the top trend on Twitter of people just going, I haven't seen this in years, and it's just so nice to see. And it was nice to see it again on the TV.
Do you know, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's weird because I'm a lot older now. I mean, I started Rosie and Jim when I was 20, 21. It just feels like a whole lifetime ago, like almost like someone else's life. It is bizarre that, you know, now that I'm this age and I've got twin 12-year-olds, so they're more into Star Wars and things like that. But, you know.
Yeah, there's not a lot of puppet-based shows for kids now, which is a shame. There was loads when I was growing up.
Do you know, there isn't. It's gone on to a different thing, hasn't it? And I think it's more, I mean, it's obviously all money-led, isn't it, and merchandising now, because I think, you know, and again, Ragdoll began to start that whole thing off with Teletubbies because the merchandising went crazy. And then now it's all about making the money back, isn't it? But Netflix have just got the Dark Crystal. They've just remade that for Henson's. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But it's not like a preschool children's programme.
No. I mean, it is quite crazy when you think about the money that was spent on shows back then. You know, the fact that Ragdoll thought, you know what, let's go and build an actual real working canal barge for a kids' show is quite something that just would not happen now. The fact that they actually went and did that. And it wasn't a prop, it was an actual real boat.
Yeah. And you know what? Yes, definitely per episode there was a lot more money. I mean, we shot it like it was, we must have shot like maybe 3 minutes of usable material a day, where you don't get that now. I mean, when I was doing The Hoobs, you've literally got to shoot an episode a day, so you're literally shooting 20 minutes to 25 minutes a day. So, yeah, we were very lucky to have that, but we didn't know it at the time.
Absolutely, yeah. And I do have to ask as well, you know, what was it like? Because obviously in puppetry, you kind of have to get into uncomfortable spaces to operate a puppet. What was it like being squeezed inside a canal boat, which are quite small, anyway.
Let me tell you, I don't want to go on a canal boating holiday. I banged my head a lot, but I never fell in. Yes, there was a lot of us on one boat, and we had a support boat. But when we were filming, I mean, Robin and I were just shoved into all sorts of corners. But fortunately, as a child, I was a bit of a gymnast, so I'm quite elasticy. My legs will go all over the place. So I could fit in the sofas and things. You know how you see those like Japanese acrobats and things get into a small box?
Yes.
I'm not quite as good as them, obviously. Otherwise, I'd be working for Cirque du Soleil. But yeah, I quite like all that. Mind you, we were shooting on Broad Street in Birmingham, and it was quite early in the morning, and they were like, oh, no, we need to relocate just up to the top of the road, in the doorway, Rebs, you're going to what have you. So I literally picked up all these sort of blankets and sort of cushions and things and went and dumped them in the doorway and sat there. And the person who owned the shop knocked on the door and thought I was homeless and told me to just basically bugger off. And so I was like, oh. And it was so funny because nobody else had come up yet. And so I literally picked up the stuff and went around the corner, and there they all were. And I'm going, you just won't believe what's happened to me. But I never thought, and of course they wouldn't have known, would they?
No. It would have been a bit of a bizarre explanation. No, I'm here to film a puppet show. They'd be like, yeah, right.
And of course at that point nobody knew what Rosie and Jim was anyway. So they just would have gone, yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. That's quite a funny story. And, I mean, with Rosie and Jim as well, there was always, you know, not just Rosie and Jim, there was always the boat owner as well. There were 3 different ones. There was John Cunliffe, Pat Hutchins and Neil Brewer. All good fun to work with, I hope?
Do you know what, they really were? I mean, John started it, obviously, and he died, didn't he, recently?
Yes, quite sadly.
And but he was from Postman Pat, you know, and I think, if my memory serves me right, that he approached Ragdoll saying he wanted to do something other than Postman Pat, and was there anything going on? And Ragdoll were thinking about this whole boat idea with this, what have you. And then, I don't know, that's how come it all came about that he ended up, bizarrely, presenting something, and he wasn't really a presenter at all. But yeah, he wasn't really used to filming. I think that's the only thing I'd say about John. He sort of wanted to stop quite regularly for snacks and things, and we just were cracking on. Neil was fantastic because he was just life and soul of the party. And Pat was wonderful because she came from this whole background of writing and illustrating her books, and was just massively interesting and just very gentle soul. And sadly, she's died as well. Several years ago. So Neil is the only one still alive, bless him. And that was so nice to see him recently. He hasn't changed a bit. He bought his accordion. We sang Rosie and Jim round the table.
What I would have done to have been there to see that. I would have paid money to see that.
No, it was hilarious. Even Anne Wood turned up.
Oh, wow.
And I hadn't seen her in a long time. And, she still looks fabulous.
Yeah.
But yes, it was very nice.
I've got a lot of love for Rosie and Jim and Ragdoll Productions. So that's just really, really wonderful to hear. I've got a lot of love for it. And, I enjoyed all three presenters. I will admit I had particular fondness towards John, although, like you say, he wasn't naturally a presenter.
Yeah.
He just kind of come across as a very kind granddad figure. And, he just had that very soft, gentle voice as he's explaining what's going on. And I really liked that. But they were all good in their own right. I
think it was weird, sort of hard for them, really, because it's like being the straight man in any sort of situation. They had to always act fairly stupid, didn't they? That they didn't know. The whole thing was based on just the behind you gag, wasn't it? That was the whole premise of the show, was that adults couldn't see them and children could, and they just used to cause a bit of mayhem and then, go again. But no, they were all great. I think all three of them didn't really understand at first, certainly how long the shooting days were, because sometimes we would be there still at 9 o'clock at night, and we'd started at 6 because we had to get a certain amount done. But and actually, all of my best friends that I still have today, I met on that job because we just were such a family, and I have never done a job that has done that since then, even though I've got some lovely puppeteer friends and everything, but certainly on that job, because we did 9 series over 10 years, we've just all kept in touch. In fact, Penny, I've just helped her move house recently in Kendal. She's in the Lake District. It's solely responsible for everything, really, doing that job. Getting that job really set me on a path, a career path that I didn't even know I was going to go on. So,
fantastic.
Very, very fond memories of it.
Well, that's really good. That's really good. I do have a few more things to ask about Rosie and Jim. I don't have most of the questions about it because I just love the show so much. It's funny, really, because I remember when I was a kid, there was one particular episode. It was one of the very first ones with John Cunliffe, where they go to a supermarket and they're pushing a shopping trolley, and the one thing that I love about it is it was filmed in the Merry Hill Shopping Centre.
It really was, and they customised this trolley so that I could actually fit in it. Yeah.
And the thing is, I live not too far from there, and that Sainsbury's supermarket was still there until about 2017. Unfortunately, they've just recently knocked it down and turned it into a Next. But I always used to go there as a kid and go, this is where they filmed Rosie and Jim, and try and work out where the different scenes were filmed.
We had such fun that day. I mean, we literally went in and caused mayhem.
You did.
I mean, one of the great things about being that character was I was allowed to just be naughty. It was all about just find your inner child and let rip. And oh my God, I loved that. I mean, she is the 8-year-old me, or even younger than that, is Rosie. And Robin and I, we were throwing food at people, we were mucking about, oh God, that was a brilliant day. Apart from literally laying in a trolley with lots of food on me.
Yes, I wondered how you do
in
that.
one of the shots, if you look really carefully, you're going to watch this now. There is a bit where I believe you can see just a part of my face. But you'd have to look really carefully, but you can see me, apparently.
I'll have a look. I'll try and watch back. Yes, definitely. I mean, that's the other thing as well when you watch back some of them is that obviously there's a lot of it filmed out in the public, and it's funny looking at the members of the public who aren't in on what's going on, just staring and going, what the hell's going on? Or there's kids like pointing out the puppets when the the presenter's supposed to be acting as if they don't know they're there. It is quite funny. But you filmed all over the place, not just in the Midlands. I mean, are there any particular places or episodes or that stick out?
One of my funniest memories were we were doing some sort of market episode, and I don't even remember where the market was now, but there was the fruit and veg guy had said, yes, you can shoot me and what have you, and the puppets would pop up, and so we were about to film. He said, what shall I say? And the director said, well, just say what you would usually say as you're trying to sort of get people to come and buy your produce. So we started rolling, and he starts being that sort of, typical market seller. And he's like, come on, ladies, get your gums around my plums. And we all just suddenly stopped and went, you can't say that. It's a preschool children's programme. I don't think honestly, I could not stop laughing. I mean, obviously it wasn't used for the obvious reasons, but oh my goodness, it was just, bless him. So yeah, that's a fond memory.
That's really funny. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of episodes, a lot of plays. I'm trying to think what other ones I liked apart from the supermarket one. I mean, it was all, like I say, it was always interesting to see because a lot of it was filmed around places I'm so familiar with, and some of those places have changed since, some haven't. So that's always interesting. I think one good one is the one with the Christmas light switch on. In Stratford, I think it is Stratford, isn't it?
That was. I was burgled that day. The day we turned the lights on, I got a phone call. I was in Stratford, and my flat had been burgled. That's how I remember it. But there were so many people there for the turning of the lights on. And again, it's one of those things that you sort of I never realised, and we never realised just how wonderful an impression it made. And Robin and I ended up doing all sorts of things because of Rosie and Jim. We went to there's a charitable organisation called Make-A-Wish, and it's about children that have got terminal illnesses, and one little boy wanted to meet us, and so we went off to meet him, and it was so bittersweet, obviously. But things like that, you don't realise the impact that the whole show made. So, yeah, it's still a shock to me. But when I do, I've got I run a different company, and some of my ladies, they're in their 20s, and of course they watched it when they were young. So it is really, it's still really strange that people remember it. Very flattering.
Indeed. I suppose what you got to remember is when it was on, there was only 4 channels. So, probably half of the children be watching BBC, but the other half be watching ITV. No.
It would have nosedived.
But yeah, no, really good, and really, really good show, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I'm just sorry that I didn't realise that the Christmas episode had such bad memories for you.
It's odd, isn't it, what you remember? I mean, I loved working with Robin as well. I mean, he just, I don't know, he's like my on-screen husband.
Yes.
So we'll always be close, and so that's really nice.
I think I saw a video once, and it was because very rarely do you see any behind-the-scenes footage, and it's always really surreal to see the puppeteers. I did see a clip once, and I think it was Rosie and Jim, and it was at the CITV studios, and I think you're both lying on the floor operating the puppets in the studio.
I know. Do you know what? It's not glamorous at all. People think, oh, she works in TV. No, I lie on the floor a lot. And nobody knows who I am, and it's just, things just happen. It's,
But on the plus side, nobody stops you in the street every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just every now and again you get TV nerds like me emailing and saying, please talk to me, I've read the credits.
I quite like that, because as I head into my old age, it's quite nice to reminisce.
Yes, definitely. Because I'll go on to some of the other shows that you've been involved in, and I will admit, before I recorded this, I did a bit of research online about the other shows that you were involved in, and there were some that I didn't even know that you worked on.
Isn't it great now with the internet that we can all be stalkers?
Yes.
Facebook. Oh, it's like anyway.
Yes, definitely. I mean, the one thing that you mentioned, and I didn't know this, is that you did end up doing some work on Tots TV, not as puppeteering, but producing the musical inserts. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued of what that was.
Well, originally, again, things changed. There were going to be 5 characters. And I was going to puppeteer one, and that all changed. And so then I wasn't, because they made the female character French, and obviously my French is not good. So I ended up it was only a really little thing, just ended up producing. I was given the brief that what I needed to do was, and it was for Teletubbies, not Tots TV, for the tummies. Where the tummies,
yes.
You went into the TV screen. I just had to shoot some nursery rhymes like pop videos. So I was given a cameraman with a Steadicam. I was given loads of different schools all around Birmingham. And some of them were just, we were trying to use children that didn't have very much and were in, very inner city schools. I can't even describe it. And they were just wonderful. And I just had to muck about with them, get them all happy and what have you, and shoot this thing and then edit it and what have you. And I loved doing that. But again, that was something I didn't even think I'd end up doing. You fall into these things, don't you? So, then I started writing a bit. I wrote some of the Rosie and Jim episodes, and then, that led on to other things. So then I started puppeteering on other programs, and then I did Live and Kicking, and Don and I wrote some of the comedy sketches every week, and so it's all stemmed from that.
Really cool, really cool. And it was Live and Kicking. What characters was that?
Well, originally on Live and Kicking there were 2 leprechauns,
yes,
Sage and Onion,
and
then
those.
John, who did Onion, went off to Australia to do Farscape, which was another sort of sci-fi thing. And so they wanted to keep the leprechauns, and so suddenly the sister arrives, Shamrock, that was me. And so, worked with Jamie Theakston and Zoe Ball, and that was great. And Zoe and I would do this whole love letters slot every week where we would read out children's letters, and there would be a celebrity sitting with us and we'd give them advice, and just ad-libbed and mucked about, and it was great. It was fab.
Good. That's really cool to hear. And another show as well, which I believed you worked on for a time, which I absolutely loved. Wizadora. Did you work on that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Do you know what? As we're talking about this, it just reminds me of the whole point that I originally wanted to be an actress, and that basically my entire career, people have wanted to hide me.
Yes.
Clearly I'm not as pretty as I thought I was. Because then you mentioned Wizadora, and they asked me to be the sort of face of the computer. Do you remember?
Yes, Poot was it?
Right,
the computer.
Yeah, but do you remember, what was it called? What was the sci-fi thing on BBC Two?
Oh, Red Dwarf.
Red Dwarf.
Yes.
Right. So do you remember the face? That's what it's going to be like, just the sort of face, and And I was like, I'd love to do that. My face will be on TV. I got quite excited, and then they were like, well, yeah, but we're going to pixelate you.
Oh, yes,
and I
yes.
was like,
I didn't realise it was you.
I mean, it was a real kick in the I was like, okay. So I'm a puppeteer. So, I'm sort of, I'm used to now not showing my face.
I thought you were going to say you were one of the puppet characters. I didn't even realise you were the computer.
No, I got all quite excited thinking, maybe somebody might see me. No. Computer says no.
Oh, dear. No, I didn't know that. So I've learned something new today on that one. And, we were talking earlier on about Francis Wright. You worked together on like Mortimer and Arabelle, Hotchpotch House, Bug Alert.
Yeah, the Hotchpotch House, oh my God, wonderful. Just delicious scripts. The set was fantastic. The puppets were great. Oh, and actually that didn't get recommissioned because Teletubbies was then commissioned, and they commissioned quite a lot of episodes of Teletubbies, and so there was no money left. And that was mortifying for Francis and I because it was just such a beautiful show to be involved in.
How did you actually become involved in working with Francis?
Because, well, when I was doing Rosie and Jim, and it was all sort of coming to an end, and I suddenly thought, oh, gosh, now what am I going to do? Because I thought I was going to sort of wanted to be an actress, sort of presenter. I didn't know really what. So I was a little bit, I didn't know. And then there was a producer at the BBC called Roger Singleton Turner. So I wrote to him, he was in the children's department, and just said, look, I really, really, really want to be a children's TV presenter. Here's my photo, here's my CV. I'm doing this sort of puppet thing at the moment, but if there's anything. And he contacted me and said, don't want you to present. You see, again, it's like nobody wants to see my face. He said, but we're doing Mortimer and Arabelle, this whole puppet show. Come down and see our head puppeteer. So I was like, okay. So I came down and I met Francis, and I've got to tell you, I was completely intimidated by him to start with. I was very young, very new, and you probably know from having your podcast with him that he busts, doesn't he, with light and enthusiasm. He
does.
Intelligent, and oh, God. I mean, I think the first time I met him, he mentioned the wreck of the Hesperus, and I was like, no idea what you're talking about. But he really, I don't know, something happened and we got on, and he said, come and just help out on the show, and there's a couple of characters you can do. And I ended up doing the grandma character on there and this Indian puppet. And my goodness, the grandma was great because I just did a lot in the background, mucking about and just what have you. And it just grew from there. And then Francis was going on to do other shows. And he just said, we need a female puppeteer. And he was working a lot with Richard Coombs. And so the three of us became quite a little team. And we did lots together. So, yeah, and oh my goodness, I'd work with him any time, I tell you. And then doing things like Bug Alert, Francis wrote that. I don't know, we just laugh. It never feels like a job. It just, I don't know, I've always said I got paid to be silly. And that's all you can hope for in life, really, isn't it? Not to have a job that you have to take too seriously. So, yeah, I adore Francis, and that's how come he's responsible for a lot of my career.
Absolutely. It is good when you're having fun, and it's really wonderful that he took you under his wing and, gave you all that opportunity. Very nice of him. He does come across as a very nice guy. Have met him, and obviously have spoken to him on this podcast, and he's
amazing, because
he
literally he called me a few weeks ago, dear girl,
yes,
I've been speaking to somebody and I've got a favour. He's like, what do you think, darling? I was like,
yes.
I think I'll do it. That's fine, Francis.
But for someone who speaks so well, when I spoke to him, he can slip into a Birmingham accent very good. He can do that.
Of course he can. Yeah, no, he's still got it, bless him.
Yeah, it is funny, actually, because I said that because obviously one of the popular characters he did for the longest time was the head on Art Attack.
Yes.
And I just remember thinking, your voice sounds nothing like it, but then he just slipped into it, and it was really bizarre. It's like, it's nothing like the head's voice at all.
And again, it was being round the likes of Richard Coombs and Francis Wright, who both, oh my goodness, not only exceptional puppeteers, I mean, really the best of the best at that time, but the voices they could do. And then, because they made me feel so comfortable, the three of us together, we were just, I don't know, we just worked all the time, and it just felt great. So, yeah, it taught me a lot.
And it's good to hear that Bug Alert was good fun to do, because I love that show. And, you know, we were talking about the fact that because it was on so early in the morning, it's not that well remembered, and I think that's a bit of a shame. But the one thing that was nice is there was an event in London not long ago at the BFI about 90s Kids TV. Francis was there, and they actually shown a few clips on this giant cinema screen. Brilliant. So I was sat in a cinema watching Bug Alert, of all things.
They should release a couple as a film. It should all be cut together. I mean, that out of all the shows that we did together, that one was done on a complete shoestring. So the puppets weren't fantastic, but they just, you know, it was really more just the vehicle for the script. And we were on such a tight schedule. Somebody, like the runner, was literally highlighting all our words, sticking all of our stuff up, and literally we'd finish one scene, the next one would go up, and half the time it was like, let's not even rehearse it, we'll shoot it, we'll just see whether you can just do it and what have you. And then we'd be puppeteering two characters at the same time, one with one hand, one with the other, and it was crazy, but just the funniest scripts. And it's such a shame that there isn't anything like that now.
Absolutely.
It'll come back, I'm sure.
There are a number of them on YouTube, which is always good to kind of watch back and reminisce.
Yeah, I mean, it's mad, isn't it? I often wonder who sits at home putting all of this stuff on. I don't know who does that. I mean, it's great, don't get me wrong, but it keeps everything alive, doesn't it?
It does. I will admit, I am one of, I mean, I haven't uploaded any Bug Alert, but I will admit I am one of these people who has put some old shows onto YouTube before just to keep them going.
I love you for that. Thank you. Put some Bug Alerts on, honestly. Let's educate the world. I love
Exactly. No, it's really good to see. And, you know, like you say, the puppets were kind of made on a shoestring. I mean, Doodlebug, which was yours, wasn't it? It's made out of a Vileda mop, wasn't it?
I know. But you know what? It was so effective. He was lovely as well like that, didn't he? I can't remember.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of your characters are northern.
Do you know, because I grew up in Lincoln, anyway, on the East Coast, so I am slightly northern.
Yeah.
I'm just putting on my telephone voice. See, this, you know what is so nice as well when you're doing puppets is you can just do a gross exaggeration of a character, which you can never do when you're acting because there has to be more subtlety. And I've never really been one to be that subtle. So actually, puppeteering suited me down to the ground.
Yeah, it's good fun. Good fun. You can muck around. Another show as well. One of my friends, his name's Robert, really wants me to ask some questions about this because until recently he didn't know you were the voice of this character.
Oh, no.
And
what is it?
Wysiwyg. Oh. He's a big fan of the show, and I mean,
weird.
Were you
back now? That was really weird, wasn't it? It was a rugby ball in a bag.
It was, yes, a talking, floating rugby ball-shaped head. I do remember it. But my friend, I think he kind of taped a few of the shows and was a big fan, so he was like, you must ask some questions. Yeah,
that was really strange. We shot that up in Nottingham. But I'm presuming it was for Central. I don't remember, but it was an animatronic puppet. And so there was another chap, Mark, that he would work the animatronics and things because it had to come out of things and float around. So a lot of it was shot with back plates and then done in an editing suite to make it look like this character, this rugby ball, essentially was floating about and doing things. So yeah, it was that was a really different thing to do because it wasn't like normal puppeteering at all. God, I haven't thought about Wysiwyg in years. Must brought back some memories. Don't even remember how many we made now. Can't remember.
I think it ran for about 3 years, I think. I can't remember myself. I do remember it being on. It's funny, actually, because it's one of those questions that gets asked a lot that I've seen about online, where people go, what was that show with the floating head? And a lot of people kind of remember it, but they just can't think of the name of it. So, you know
what? I wonder whether that's on YouTube, because that would be quite interesting. I'd quite like to see that again.
I think there's one or two on there, because when I was doing research for this interview, and I found out that you were Wysiwyg, I sent my friend a screenshot of the credits and went, look. And he went, do you know, now I think about it, Wysiwyg did sound an awful lot like Rosie.
Do Do you know what? It's really weird because I used to go to all these interviews and I'd say, okay, what do you want? And I'd do all these voices and we always ended up coming back. They wanted the same thing. And I could never quite escape from that. At first I used to think that's really, it's not good because I want to do other things. But essentially then you have to do what the producers want, don't you? So, yeah, they want a little girl's voice, and that's what they get then. So,
yeah.
Well, thank God no one had really heard of it. Otherwise they've gone, oh, what's Rosie doing?
Yes. It's nice. It's jogged your memory a bit. I bet
really
you wasn't
thinking about that today.
expecting to be asked about that show.
I don't even think I'd have remembered it myself, to be honest.
Because I always kind of have a look on like IMDb or LinkedIn to kind of find what someone's done, because there might be a show that I didn't know that they were involved in. And it's like, because I always like to ask people about the shows that are not as well remembered or didn't run as long, because it's nice to kind of talk about those shows as well as not just the big ones, I think.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And as well, like you said earlier, you worked on The Hoobs as well, which was so popular when it came out. Yeah. Which character were you?
I did one of the motorettes. I had a really good time on that show, and I was contracted for 2 years, and then I was allowed to go off and do other things. So I just was like, I'll just do the motorettes, and I helped do the arms and everything for Hubba Bubba. Was that his name, the blue one?
Yes, Hubba Bubba.
There you go. And it was great because it was like having a regular job that I knew I could go back to and then go off and do all the other things. And so Henson's, working Henson's is amazing, let me tell you. They 100% look after you. You are, nothing is too much trouble, and they're just amazing. I was really, really fortunate to do the Hoobs. So, that was great. We did like 175 episodes each season, and we did it over 2 years or something, and then we did like an episode a day, and then they were just shown for ages.
They were, yeah.
Channel 4, and I think it was because Channel 4 hadn't done a lot of children's stuff, and certainly nothing to that size, to that bigger commission. It was really good. It was very close. I used to live in Harrow, and it was shot in Elstree, so it was so peachy.
Good stuff. And like you say, it did run for a very long time, very popular.
Yeah. And I got to sing, because I really like to sing, so,
Yes.
Who doesn't like that?
Indeed. Well, if you can sing. Unfortunately, I can't, so I try not to. And, one other show as well, which again I was like looking at, oh yeah, I do remember that. Barnaby Bear, you were Barnaby Bear as well.
Oh, I loved that. It was in the days when the BBC made school programmes and had a budget for that. And so we worked alongside the National Geographic, and it was for Key Stage 2 geography, and we stuck to the curriculum. So we got to go to some amazing places. We went to Norway, we went to France, Ireland. We just got to travel, and it was, Norway was amazing. I was at one point, I'm lying on the sort of edge of this mountain on the side with this walkie-talkie in my hand, and the camera crew are somewhere down and what have you, and literally I am helping, or trying to help, because obviously as much as a puppet really can't help, to herd these reindeers with this Sami tribesman. And I remember phoning my then boyfriend going, you'll just never guess what I'm doing today. And there's all these reindeers literally leaping over me as I'm laying in this sort of ferny, heathery, whatever. Literally, I don't know, nothing can buy moments like that. There isn't enough money, is there? And it's the same with Rosie and Jim. This weekend, I was at the Thames near Tower Bridge because my sister's doing part of the Round the World Clipper race, and Tower Bridge started to open, and Rosie and Jim, I actually pressed the button and opened the bridge, and again, wouldn't get to do that in any other walk of life. So I'm so aware how lucky I've been to go everywhere and do things. I mean, Barnaby Bear, we went to Mexico, and it was just extraordinary. I mean, we just had the best time.
Yeah, and you got paid to travel, which is nice.
Get paid to be silly, get paid to travel. Honestly, I've got nothing to moan about, have I really?
No, absolutely. And some great memories. It's really nice to hear all these stories about such wonderful children's shows that so many people enjoyed, and I was one of them. And, very fond memories of watching them.
There again, that was sort of bizarrely successful. And you wonder why. And then when I was doing it with the little girl, Becky, who then went on, I don't know if she's still in Hollyoaks, but she was in Hollyoaks for a while, wasn't she?
I've never watched Hollyoaks, so I don't know, sorry.
I don't watch Hollyoaks, but this is what I hear. But she was just fabulous to work with, I don't know what she's doing. But, yeah.
Good stuff. It's been great to hear these memories. And, you've had a long career in puppetry, and not just in television. I know that you've done some work on some big films as well, the Muppet films, and recently the new Star Wars ones as well. That must be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're seeing things that you just wouldn't ordinarily get to see, and I think that's what always I literally walk around Pinewood going, I can't believe I'm here, any minute now I'll be found out. I mean, I think that with Star Wars, it's just, you don't get to do a massive amount, but you need to be there to just manipulate certain things and just what have you, and you're very lucky if your little bit gets into shot, let alone makes the film. But you're just experiencing something that you'll never, ever see again. It's the biggest machine of a thing I've ever worked on. They literally just take over the whole of Pinewood, and the security is something else. Your phone gets covered, the camera bit gets covered with this security thing, and you can't talk to anybody, you can't tell anybody what's going on, and that's great. And you also get to sort of, you get to see Harrison Ford and things, what's not to love. That's all good. And the Muppets, again, I think I was 24, 25 when I did Muppet Christmas Carol. And I was really like a puppet extra, because the way they fill all of the holes, don't they, around the set with puppets, and just keeping the whole thing breathing and alive. And again, at that age, when I hadn't really done anything really much in television or in film, and suddenly you're there and these enormous sets, and there's people shouting, what they're doing, and you do this and that. It's just the most incredible situation to be in. I mean, to the point where we're shooting one day and we stopped shooting because in walks Joan Collins looking unbelievable. I mean, just everybody's jaws were on the floor, and she sort of sashays in and has a chat and wants to have a little look around because she's heard the Muppets are there. And then off she goes again, and you just go, oh my God, Joan Collins just walked in. How marvellous. So, it's all good.
Definitely. And Muppets Christmas Carol was one of my favourite films growing up. My poor mother had to sit through it all through the year, not just at Christmas, and every Christmas I do watch it. It is a great film.
Do you know what? Every Christmas I say the same thing. I was in that, and my boy's like, yeah, we know, Mum.
It's nice, actually. You're the second person I've spoke to who did background puppets on Muppets Christmas Carol.
Well, you see, you know what? They literally have to just dredge in every single puppeteer that's in Britain.
Yes.
When there's a Muppet movie. So, and again, it's really nice to do those things, because it's like going. I say it's like going to the Star Wars restaurant, because we meet up, we haven't seen each other maybe for a little bit, or worked together for a while, and the food is free and it's wonderful, and we sit there and we just catch up. So it's marvellous.
Yeah, definitely. It is really nice that that you all get along and you keep in touch. I mean, one thing I have been told by, the other person who I spoke to who was in Muppets Christmas Carol was a guy called Simon Buckley.
Lovely Simon, who is now a vicar.
Yes, that surprised me.
Yes.
And he said, that because there aren't that many puppeteers in the country, you all seem to know each other, and it's always nice when you work together, and it's like a reunion every single time. Yes, that's really nice.
And that's what has been lovely, is that, whenever there's a big job, everybody gets together. And, yeah, I mean, there are more puppeteers now than there ever was, because you're right, they did start doing courses at drama school and things, which they never did when I was at drama school. But it got, being a puppet or puppets on TV became much more popular, so they sort of built it into their curriculum. But yeah, there's still a whole load of us that have been doing it for years and years, and we keep going, literally till our arms drop off. We will keep doing it if there's work there.
Absolutely. So to kind of finish things off, I always ask people, what are you up to these days?
Oh, do you know what? Not too much. I have a cleaning company because I am a single mum. And when I moved down from London down to Dorset, when my boys were about 3, and I suddenly thought, what on earth am I going to do? I still want to puppeteer, but I've got to, got to have something that runs alongside it. And so there's a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's basically about how you generate a passive income.
Yes.
And it separates entrepreneurs from just people who have a job. And I thought, I can't do a job because I'm a single mum. And to be honest, I'm not qualified in anything. I mean, what would I do? So I thought, I've got a slight OCD disorder with cleaning. So I set up my company, and now I've got about 25, 30 women who go off and are wonderful, and they do that, and it enables me to be a mum to my boys, and actually puppeteer when I need to, because they do the work. They are amazing. So it's worked out really, really well.
That's really cool. And actually, there is one more thing I do need to ask, because just to kind of prove I'm talking to the real person, can you still do Rosie's voice?
I can for a fee. No, I can't. I can. What do you want me to say? Shall I just say anything?
Go on.
Hi, I'm Rosie, and it's been really, really nice to talk to everybody today. And that's what I'd like to say. So, have a happy day, everybody. Bye.
Rebecca, it's been absolutely lovely speaking to you today.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Brilliant.
Thank you for listening, and that brings us to the last interview in the series. I hope you've enjoyed them all, and a big thank you that goes out to everybody who's agreed to be interviewed by me. It really does mean a lot. I hope to be back sometime soon with a new batch of chats. In the meantime, I'll be posting stuff on the Jack's Throwback Attack blog page, as well as some stuff on YouTube as well. Until next time, I'll see you soon.